let's start this session off. So, welcome everyone to today's session, which is called Mastering Oriel. I'm joined here today by Emma, who amazingly got second place in, I think it was 3,139 places. So, when I saw Emma achieve that, I was like, yeah, we're going to need Emma to kind of share her knowledge with us, and hence why she is here with us today. So, before we get into a little bit about Oriel, I just want to start off by talking over what Revised Pharma is. So, I understand there's probably a few new people on here that haven't come to one of our webinars before. But essentially, my name is Gia. I am the founder of Revised Pharma. I sat the GPHC exam in March 2021. And then, literally just about 4 years ago, I got my results, got 95% overall, and I got 100% in calculations. At the time, there really wasn't something out there for trainees to help them pass their exam, and I thought I would just create something to do that. My career started off as a trainee in community pharmacy, and that was also during COVID. So I wouldn't say I had the best time in my trainee year, but I still managed, due to what I kind of learned for the GPHC exam, to get the results I did. I worked as a locum pharmacist for a bit after the trainee year. I worked as a research analyst for 3 years, and then I currently have a hourly paid senior lecturer role in pharmacy practice at Kingston University as well. So a lot of you may just know up for trainee year, and to an extent that's correct. Like, predominantly we do trainee year. We're actually the market leaders for the trainee year resources, but we thought we'd take a step back and go towards Oriel because it makes sense. Otherwise, we wouldn't be having this session today and we wouldn't be having such a massive turnout. Before that, though, if you are still in your early days, if you just want to keep up to date, follow our Instagram page, feel free to do so. It's at revise_pharma, and we've got loads of free educational content on there. I know education and social media can go together, but if that doesn't make it exciting, just telling you to go and follow it, we're going to do a competition. So I feel like a few of you have done these competitions before, and yes, we do them a lot because we love to give away Amazon vouchers. We think that we're sponsored by them. But essentially, anyone who follows our page now, I'm going to do a random draw, and the winner's going to get £25 in Amazon vouchers. If you were already following us, unfollow and refollow so you can take part in the competition. And what I'll literally do live on the screen, I will pick someone at random. Emma will say stop when we start doing the random scrolling. And then, yeah, we will kind of pick one winner. But yeah, other than that, a few ground rules for today. If you've got questions, there will be an opportunity at the end to ask those questions. And that's essentially it, to be honest. There's not too much more to say other than that. So I think we are slowing down on the follows. Oh no. That was just a massive new influx. But I mean, if you don't get it in time in the competition, don't worry. We've always got loads of competitions happening. All right. And do one last refresh. All right. So Emma, I'm going to ask you. Hold on, let me load all the way to the bottom. Cool. I'm going to ask you to say stop whenever you feel like it.
Okay. Stop.
So that was Lena Yar So if Lena, yeah, you drop me a message, we will send you a £25 Amazon voucher. Don't be disheartened if you don't win. Again, we literally send random Amazon vouchers to our followers all the time. Um, but going over today's session, what it's going to look like, we're going to start off talking about the Oriel test. Emma's going to take over from that point onwards. How to prepare for numeracy, how to prepare for the SJT, tips for the exam day, tips for the day. Tips for the exam, tips for the day. The revised Pharma Oriel course, because we actually released this not too long ago, just over 2 months ago, and then a Q&A session. So before we start off with that, I suppose, Emma, if you want to give yourself a brief introduction and tell us about today's session, and then whenever you need, tell me to hit the next slide.
Yeah, so I'm Emma. So I'm from De Montfort University. I'm in my 4th year at the moment, and I did this test just under a year ago, and I know a lot of you are going to be doing it in a few months' time. So I placed second overall when I did do this. So I've kind of created some tips for you all, just some like tips so you can do well as well and get whichever placement you want. So first we'll go through a bit of like an introduction to the test. So there's 2 parts to the test. You've got the numeracy and then you've got the situational judgment test. The situational judgment test is more of the bulk of it. You'll get most of your marks from there, but you'll be ranked with your places together. So whatever marks you get in the numeracy and the situational judgment test will be basically merged into one. So with the numeracy, you have 10 questions and you have to do it in 20 minutes. So essentially you have 2 minutes per question for these. So they're quite simple. You have the dose and dose regimens, dosage and unit conversions, concentrations, dilutions, using provided formula and quantities to supply for those. And then for the situational judgment test, you'll have around 104 minutes, so just under 2 hours, but that still comes out to about 1.5, 2 minutes per question. There's 2 styles of these as well. You've got ranking, so you'll have like 5 responses to a situation and you'll have to rank them in order of appropriateness. And then you've got the 3 best answers, so you'll have about 8 possible answers and you'll choose the 3 that you think would be the most appropriate in the situation. And all of these questions, they directly test the professional attributes that you'll be tested on during your foundation training year as well. Just 5 of them. I think there's quite a few more than that if you look at the framework. But the ones that you're tested on for this is the person-centered care, your multi-professional collaboration and leadership, your integrity and your ethics, problem solving, clinical analysis, decision making, communication and consultation skills. So a really good overview of all the skills you'll need to when you're working as a foundation pharmacist. So go to the next slide. So this is how you can prepare for your numeracy test. So you're going to have to be doing these calculations quite quickly. So you'll need to remain accurate while also doing these in such a fast pace. So you can learn this skill with time, like lots of practice, and just keep going over the questions and you'll get it down to be able to do it in those 2 minutes. So you'll only be expected to enter the final answer to your questions, but you will be allowed a whiteboard or paper to do all your working out on. So you don't need to worry about that. But the most important thing is to double check which calculators are permitted. You'll be given a list of which are allowed before the day. So myself, I accidentally brought the wrong calculator. I wasn't allowed to use it. So I had to use the on-screen ones. They're a bit difficult to use, a bit more time consuming. But you do have that option as well if you weren't able to get a calculator, but just double check. Yeah, so what you want to do is just understand the basics and familiarize yourself with the common formula, dosing, unit conversions. So just know your basics really and know your units and how to convert between these. And you'll want to practice regularly. So we have the question bank of pharmacy specific calculation problems in this course as well as the situational judgment test. You've got everything in one place. So just keep going over these, keep going over whatever your university is giving you as well. It's best to focus on the areas you find challenging, and possibly practicing in simulated test conditions as well, because we all know you can just get stressed on the day and things get out of control sometimes when you get stressed. But the best thing I can say for this is just keep a log of your mistakes and identify these patterns so you'll be able to focus on these areas. So this is how I'd suggest to prepare for your SJT. So that's the situational judgment. So each question in these SGTs represents a workplace situation that you might encounter, you might not in a real life situation, but they are quite realistic, such as resolving conflicts, prioritizing tasks, responding to patient concerns, responding to the family of patients. So you always need to consider that the patient safety is the top priority always in all of these situations. But then you also need to think about your professionalism, your um, ethical standards, teamwork, and your place in the team, what you're allowed to do as a foundation training pharmacist as well. So actions that are unsafe, unprofessional, and cause delays or something that's out of your scope of practice are typically the least appropriate answers in these situations as well. So you just need to recognize what's your scope of practice and what's safe for the patient. Next one. So the best thing to do is to kind of study the NHS values and the professional standards that you'll be tested on. So this will really help you when you're answering your questions and help you to choose which are the most appropriate and which are the safest. So if you're not familiar with the NHS core values, we've got them listed here for you. So it's working together for patients, respect and dignity, commitment to quality of care, compassion, improving lives, and everyone counts. So that's the values that you'll need to uphold when you're answering these questions and also in your professional career as well. You also need to understand the GPHC standards for pharmacy professionals. And if you're not familiar with these, we've got them listed as well. So they're quite similar, putting patients first, acting professionally, working collaboratively. So we've also got the question banks. We've got around 100 in there for you. And these are quite comprehensive. They're testing all of the standards that you'll need to know. So just keep practicing with these and you'll be able to familiarize yourself with this at the same time. Yeah, so when you look at these questions at first, you might be thinking, why is this answer not appropriate and this one is? It can be quite confusing at first, but you need to practice, but the most important thing is you understand why the answers are what they are. So you need to focus on why one action is more appropriate. And let's say one that you rank slightly lower, it's appropriate, you could have done it, but in this situation, maybe it's less effective. Maybe it's just not the number one thing you would do. So how you want to think about this and how you want to approach this is considering your patient's safety as the number one top priority, as I said earlier, as well as ethics, efficiency, and teamwork. And you just need to focus on what is most and least appropriate based on the situation, while also identifying urgency. So you'll put, say, urgent situations at the top, like the urgent things that you need to prioritize would be ranked, say, number one. And then maybe something that's important, but not as time sensitive, you'd put, say, number 2 and number 3, and you'll be able to rank it this way. So the easiest way to do this is to break your questions into tiers. So break your answers into different categories: your immediate action, follow-up, inappropriate. And this will help you formulate your answers and your rankings. Just the next slide, please. So to sum that up, what you want to do is not memorize these reasonings behind the answers, but you want to internalize this information. So the SJT is about demonstrating understanding of these values. So you don't just want to memorize whatever we put as number 1 or 5. You want to kind of take this into account and make yourself understand what would the ideal foundation training pharmacist do in this situation, and which are the professional values that I'm upholding and the decision-making principles that someone should do in this situation. And you can use these practice questions to develop critical thinking skills in this situation. And don't just think, oh, I've got the right answer. You need to really internalize why it is the right answer. So I'd always suggest carefully reading the explanations, and you'll get a grasp of why these answers are appropriate and why something might not be. Yeah. And you can also understand why specific actions are prioritized, as well as just appropriate or inappropriate. So I wouldn't get disheartened if when you start these, you're getting some things incorrect. The mistakes are an opportunity to learn, and you can always keep a journal of your incorrect answers and down the scenario, why you chose the answer that you did, why it was incorrect, and the correct reasoning and the correct answer. And then you can kind of see what you would do differently next time in the situation. And this will help with your answering your questions and in your professional career as well. Next slide, please. Yeah, so I could also suggest you'll notice a pattern of incorrect or lowly ranked answers and recurring correct or highly ranked answers. And this will translate to the actual test as well. So I'd suggest noting these down, and you'll be able to see and get a kind of pattern of what's going on here. And it'll help with your understanding of the prioritization as well. So you also want to think about the STAR framework. If you're not familiar, it's situation, task, action, result. So you want to know what's happening, what's your responsibility, and what's in your scope of practice. What are the options? So what are the appropriate answers that you have? And which are the best outcome for the patients, the team, and your professional integrity? And this will kind of help you guide your answers as well. So you also really want to track your progress and monitor your improvement. Say last week you got 5 wrong. Next week, maybe you'll only get 1 or 2 wrong, and you'll be able to track what you need to focus on as well. And we've split our sections up into the professional attributes. So you'll be able to see which type of questions that you might struggle with. So say the ranking or the 3 best answer questions, maybe you're struggling with the ranking, but maybe it's also specifically, say, the professional integrity questions that you're struggling with, or like communication, and you'll be able to go through the sections that we've made and focus on these as well, specifically. And next slide, please. Yeah, so this is my tips for the day. So it's kind of just a reiteration of what was said earlier. So just read each question carefully, understand what the question is asking for specifically, and just look out for your keywords like per day or per dose or over 24 hours, just so you don't get caught out in those situations. And remember to manage your time effectively. So you have about 2 minutes per question. You can move back between the questions. You're not just stuck on one. You can flag one and go back later. Just if you're stuck, move on and return later. You don't want to lose out on other marks because you're stuck on one question for more than 2 minutes. So that's my tips for those. Just the next slide, please. Yeah, and remember to ensure your calculator is permitted for use, or like in my case, familiarize yourself with the calculator. It's very similar to what you'd have on your laptop or your computer at home, and just familiarize yourself on how to use it. So just make sure you input all your values correctly as well. If you have time, always double check your answers. You only have 20 minutes. That 20 minutes will fly by. So just always double check and remember to pay attention to any unit conversions as well that you might have missed out. Next slide, please. Yep, so this is my tips for the day for the SJT. So there's no penalty for incorrect answers or like an incorrect ranking. You only get marked on what you get correct. So just always attempt every question and just try, because you might end up getting no marks, you might end up getting a lot of them, but you won't get penalized for this. So again, it's approximately 1.5 to 2 minutes per scenario. So if you've done all your preparation, don't overthink. Your first instinct is often correct. Like, you've done as much preparation as you can. Just go with what your gut is telling you. But if you're unsure, eliminate the clearly inappropriate options firstly, and then you'll kind of be able to focus on actions that are aligned with the core values. And for the ranking questions, I'd suggest start with the most and least appropriate options, and then you can kind of switch around the middle three, and you'll be able to get a good grasp of what's going on there. And that will kind of save some time for you as well. Remember to always prioritize your patient's safety as well. So that should always be your primary consideration when you're evaluating these actions. So any action that compromises safety is likely inappropriate. When you do look at these scenarios, you'll be able to see some of the options, they can compromise patient safety, maybe in a really explicit way, or maybe it's something like, oh, just time. Like a timely intervention was needed. So just next slide, please. So remember to stay objective. So the test isn't asking for your personal opinion of what you would do. It's asking what the ideal action of a trainee pharmacist would be. So that's what I meant by internalizing the answers. So then you can kind of have that mindset and know what should be done in this situation, instead of just your personal opinion, because everyone has different personalities. So always focus on what a competent pharmacy professional should do, and avoid assuming any extra information not provided. So everything that's laid out in the scenario, just take that as it is and don't assume anything else. Take your time to fully read the scenario and understand the context before making a decision. So also look for keywords to indicate urgency or ethical concerns, and that will help guide your answers as well. So it's easier said than done, but try and stay calm. You've done all your preparation at this point, so just trust that you've done your best and go with your gut. Avoid overthinking. So in terms of time management, don't spend too long on one question. Similarly to the calculations, you can use your flagging and flag questions to revisit later if you're stuck. So if you're going past the 2 minutes, just flag it, move on, come back if you have the time. Just remember to put something down as well. So, and also if you are stuck for time, remember that you have the opportunity to earn the most marks with the ranking questions. So you've got, I think you can earn 20 marks with the ranking and something like 12, 15 with the 3 best answers. So if you are struck for time, then you can always prioritize these ranking ones and then go on to the 3 best answers. I might be wrong with the marking amounts there, but it definitely is the ranking questions. You can earn more marks with those. So just to reiterate, for the rate ranking questions, identify the most and least appropriate actions first, then work on the middle options. And for your multiple choice, eliminate the obviously inappropriate answers before selecting the best ones. You have quite a few options to choose with those. I think it's something like 8 possible answers, and you only pick 3. So you do need to eliminate quite a few there. So that's just all my tips for the day and tips on how to prepare. Hopefully that's helpful for you all.
Yeah, Emma, I'm just wondering where you would have come if you bought your own calculator on the day and it was the right one. You probably would like got first place by a mile away. So it's incredible to see if you got second despite that. But yeah, it goes to show. I feel like with your tips, you basically emphasized on doing loads of practice and learning from your mistakes. Do you say that's your kind of
Definitely.
yeah,
Yeah.
cool.
Study the reasonings. That's my biggest tip.
Yeah.
Just the reasonings for sure.
And this is something that I always carry across to actual trainee pharmacists. We always say that you can do as many practice questions as you want, but if there's no explanation to the practice question, you're essentially wasting your time.
Yeah.
So it's very, very important that you focus more so on the explanations rather than, oh yeah, great, I got 9 out of 10, or great, I got like 8 out of 10. It doesn't really
Mhm.
mean anything. Where the value is if you got 9 out of 10, or like read over more in more concentration over the one that you got wrong. But also, I think it's also very important to go over the ones you got correct as well, because especially with situational judgment, I feel like there will be some times where you'll be like, is this one first? Is this one not first? And then kind of consolidating that option was correct is also important for you to do. So I
Yeah.
think you've hit the nail on the head. We always say this for training year as well. It is a matter of doing as much practice as you can and kind of learning rather than just aiming for a good score when you're doing practice. But
Mhm.
yes, so I'm going to take over for a tiny, tiny little bit.
Mhm.
That was all of Emma's amazing advice. Um, just a little bit about Revised Pharma, just for when you are in the trainee position that you want. So as I said, we are the market leaders for trainee year. We're cheap, up-to-date, spoon-fed vibes, detailed and concise. We have a 95% pass rate. And again, you're being taught by someone who got 100% in calculations and 95% overall. So you're going to be in pretty good hands. And when I say the market leaders, we literally had 1,500 students in the June 2023 to 2024 cohort. And as it stands, we have around 1,480 students for this cohort. So again, we've basically got more than half of the students under our belt, and we can get them a really good pass mark. But what I will do for this next part is go over our course and kind of like show you a little bit about what it is. Emma, can you just confirm if you can see the website? It's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
So, for those who have never visited the Revised Pharma website, it's literally revisedpharma.com. Pretty simple. Don't look at this part. This part is not for you. This is when you've actually got a salary coming in and you can't kind of like get these courses unless you want to enroll in the free mini course, just to get an idea. Go to university students. And then before I quickly go into the Mastering Oriel, we've got Mastering OSCE, entry-level pharmacy, um, some stuff for entry-level pharmacy. It's actually quite beneficial. I know it's irrelevant, but I thought I'd just show you a quick look through as well, like drug classes with nomenclatures, the top 100 drugs and what they are for, over-the-counter drugs, what they are, the age requirements, and what they treat. But the one that we care about here today is Mastering Oriel. So how it looks, this course is, as Emma said, you've got SJTs and you've got calculations. With the SJTs, there's two different types. And remember, we're examining 5 characteristics. These are the 5 characteristics. So we've got 10 questions on each topic. So there's 10 topics. Well, there's 5 actual topics, but 2 sets of them because one set is the 3 best options, one set is the ranking. And then we've got calculations. What we have found effective is people learn best by doing it topic by topic. And then in the end, you've also got a randomized mode as well. So how it would look is, let's say, for example, you want to do three best questions and you just want to do multi-professional collaboration and leadership, right? This is the three best options version. Let's put down three random answers, click confirm, and it will tell you which ones are correct or which ones are not correct. And yes, as we said earlier, it's really important that you have an explanation. So every single bit is explained. Right, so you can do one day multi-professional collaboration and learning, next day person-centered care, but you are very much aware that this is not how the exam is going to look. This is more so for learning. Those were the three best options, and then we can go again for three best options in a randomized mode. And what would happen in this scenario is you basically get given the questions from all 50 of here. We pull out 10 and it puts it into a random generator. So you can practice it as if it was like multiple mocks back to back. And once you complete the next 10, and well, we're quickly on question 7, but just for example's sake, once we get through that, let's say, let's see if we actually get any right. Probably not. So this is question 10 of 10. And then what would happen on the randomized mode? You click next. Obviously, you get your result. I did loads of random stuff. Click continue, continue, and then it will go back to the randomized one, retake the quiz, and it will just generate another random test. So that's how our course looks. Same goes for calculations. So calculations, you are literally being taught by topic. You've got the answers, questions, answers. And then again, what will happen? You'll go to the calculations randomized mode and you'll get to attempt mocks essentially as you like over and over again. And that's how the course looks. But I say we have a look at um let's have a look at some of the questions. What do you say, Emma?
Hmm.
Cool. So let's have a look at one of the let's have a look at one of the three best options. Um, I'm going to try and do something to zoom out. Cool. Right. Let's have a look. What we will actually do is give you the chance to tell us what you think the three best options are. So I'm going to read out the question. Um, I'll give you all the chance in the chat function to answer this question, and then Emma will go through it. So a nurse contacts you about a critical medication missing from the patient's bedside cabinet. They say we can't give this patient their evening dose because the pharmacy hasn't sent it up. Choose the three most appropriate actions to take. So apologize for the issue and acknowledge the nurse's concern. Check the pharmacy records to confirm whether the medication has been sent. Explain that the pharmacy is very busy and suggest the nurse checks again on the ward. Offer to personally ensure the medication is delivered immediately if it's in stock. If the medication isn't in stock, work with the prescriber to determine an appropriate alternative. Ask the nurse to raise the issue with a ward manager for best communication in the future. Reassured that the nurse that you will investigate the issue and provide an update as soon as possible. Suggest that the nurse uses a dose from another patient's supply if it's urgent. So we're throwing you right in the deep end. Put it in the chat function. What are people going to put as the three best options? So we've got BGF, ABG. So the most commonality is being G. Anyone else going for something? Come on, there's 100 of you on here. ABG, ABG. Right, we are getting a lot of A, B, and Gs. Ooh. So C, B, and E looks like they were the correct options.
Mhm.
C, B, and E. Emma, do you want to take us through why that would be?
Yeah. You just scroll so I can see the explanation.
Sorry. As in here or
Oh no, the explanation, yeah.
down? Down, down,
Yeah,
down.
so for this one, the answer is actually B, D, and E. So everyone that's chosen B, D, or E, well done. So this question is assessing your communication and your consultation skills, as well as your interprofessional communication skills. So the reason we've chosen B as the first option, so this is an important first step. So it helps establish the facts and determines whether the medication has already been dispatched. So this ensures clarity before taking further action. So initially you'll just want to know what's actually happened. Like you need to know exactly what's happened here. Like I said, with the STAR framework, you need to know the situation. So D, so this takes responsibility and demonstrates initiative to resolve the issue promptly. And this it also ensures timely delivery of the medication and prioritizes the patient care. So again, it's prioritizing patient safety and the patient's care here. So option E, this is a strong response as it demonstrates problem solving and collaboration with the prescriber to ensure the patient's treatment is not delayed. So that was if the medication isn't in stock, work with the prescriber to determine an appropriate alternative. So that is important. So we don't know why it's not on the bedside, or so we need to know the situation, like is said in B, and then you'll need to find a solution there as well. So that's why those three are the best options here. So the reason why the other ones are less appropriate. So A is that one that people said as well. So apologize for the issue and acknowledge the nurse's concerns. So it is appropriate. It acknowledges the urgency of the situation and it's giving empathy towards the nurse's frustration. But while it builds rapport, it doesn't address the problem directly. Like you're not really doing anything here. As important as apologizing is, it's not addressing the problem directly. So what was said as well. So yeah. So D and E was we said A, B, and G, didn't we?
So it's B, D, and E. So the next inappropriate one would be C.
Yeah.
So I assume that's pretty straightforward. You don't want to come off as rude. Explain that the pharmacy is very busy and suggest the nurse checks again. I mean,
Mhm.
yeah, that is probably something where a nurse could make the mistake, but you're kind of like dismissing the issue. So that's probably why
Yeah.
C is, although it might look like a very easy option and a very easy fix, that's not something that you just want to do because you're assuming that the nurse is not competent enough to check um, a cabinet, which, believe me, nurses are uh, probably a lot more competent than most healthcare
Yeah.
professionals in the hospital. Um, then you go on to F. Do you want to
Yeah.
take over again?
So yeah, just to go on what you said, it's risking damaging professional relationships as well for that answer with C. So
Mhm.
the next response we've got F. So this is deflecting responsibility. So this F is asking the nurse to raise the issue with their ward manager for better communication in the future. So you're deflecting responsibility here. Sorry, could you scroll down a little, please?
Sure.
And it doesn't contribute to resolving the immediate problem. So while improving the communication is necessary long term, the patient's care should be prioritized here. So again, you're not taking responsibility and you're not taking timely action as well. So next is G. So reassuring the nurse that you'll investigate the issue and provide an update as soon as possible. Again, it's helpful. It's showing willingness to resolve the issue, but it's more effective when paired with taking action, such as checking the stock or suggesting alternatives. And then the final suggestion, suggesting the nurse use a dose from another patient's supply if it's urgent. This is inappropriate. It violates protocols, medication safety protocols, and risks compromising the care of another patient. So it's unethical, unprofessional. I think it might be illegal as well because you're taking from another prescription. Yeah, so that one's just not appropriate in this situation at all. So there's
Yeah.
your reasoning. Hopefully that sheds light to it a little and you can see why the answers B, D, and E for this.
Yeah. So Ellen's made a good question. So isn't E making an assumption about the medication not being in stock? I mean, um, it's kind of said if the medication isn't in stock. So
Yeah.
here, the difference between E and what was the other option? The other option, which was similar, was G, right? So I would say E
Mhm.
is the same as G, but in E, you've actually put an action on it as well,
Yeah.
right? So G is like, yeah, I'll do something about it. E is, okay, I'll do something about it, and this is what I will do about it.
Mhm.
Do you know what I mean? Is it our job if medication isn't in stock to find a solution? Yeah, yeah, it is. I mean, like, um, absolutely. So, especially I worked in community, and this was something that happened all the time. So, HRT, for a while, that went out of stock. Pharmacists were key in actually. Okay, let me start again with this explanation. So, normally, how it works, pharmacists would just dispense what the doctor said to dispense. But in some shortages, um, the doctor doesn't really know as well as the pharmacist what's in stock, what's not in stock. So actually, how it looked for a very long time, especially with HRT, is doctors would call the pharmacy and be like, "Hey, what have you got in stock today?" And the pharmacist would say, and then the doctor would prescribe based off that. It is not uncommon for that to happen, and it's not uncommon for the pharmacist themselves to take the initiative to say, "Hey, doctor, you've been sending over a lot of prescriptions for, I don't know, let's say Everel 50, which is a HRT. We don't have Everel 50 in stock, but we've got loads of Estradiol 50 in stock. Do you want to prescribe that instead?" And the doctor most times will just go, "Yes, because, we've got that in stock." So yeah, Tuba, great question. But that is something that you are expected to do as a pharmacist. It's part of it's a core part of the job. Yeah. So hopefully that makes sense as to why B, D, and E is the answer. I think we can like very confidently, I think everyone picked up B is a strong answer to go for. I
Mhm.
can understand why people wanted to go for G as opposed to E,
Yeah.
but it is a matter of E is essentially the same as G, but with an action on top as well. And then D is a very proactive solution as well.
Mhm.
So that's one type of the questions. Let's have a look at ranking styles. What should we go for? Let's go. I'll just do it randomly. Problem solving. Right. So here we have another question. A patient calls the pharmacy saying they haven't received their regular medication delivery. They are concerned because they will run out of medication today. Rank the following actions in order of most to least appropriate. A. Investigate the delivery process to identify why the issue occurred and prevent future delays. B. Apologize to the patient. Arrange urgent delivery of the medication immediately. C. Advise the patient to come to the pharmacy to collect the medication. D. Offer to deliver the medication yourself at the end of the day when the responsible pharmacist with the responsible pharmacist's approval. E. Explain that the delivery was delayed due to high demand. So again, in the chat, rank A, B, C, D, E. What do you think is the most appropriate? Let's get the full ranking in play. What do we think? Ellen's gone for D, A, B, C, E. D, A, B, C. Maisie has gone for D, D, A, C, E. And someone's gone for A, B, D, C, E. I think a lot of people are going for C and E. Although I don't know, during COVID, well, I think we just ended up asking loads of people to just come get the medication because we did have enough of people
Yeah.
by that point. Although I don't think that is generally a good option to go for. But sometimes you break the rules in pharmacy, I suppose. Um, well, not breaking the rules, just not giving the best, depending on your capacity.
Yeah.
Cool. A lot of people went for C and E at the end. Very good. Very good. Very
Hmm.
confident that people have understood this question. So, Emma, do you want to take it away with an explanation?
Yeah, I think quite a few people got this one right
Yeah.
from the chat. So let me just. So the answer for this one, BDACE. So the scenario is assessing your problem solving, clinical analysis, and your decision making skills. So apologizing to the patient and arranging for an urgent delivery of their medication, it's prioritizing the patient's needs and you're resolving the immediate problem and the medication interruption there. So straight away, that's a good option to make. So delivering the medication yourself ensures the patient's needs are addressed without delay if no other immediate option is available. So this is demonstrating your dedication to patient care here as well, but it's not entirely practical. In this situation, we've not been given more context of, is it a slow day at the pharmacy? Is it really busy? So we'd place this one second because it's not completely practical here, but it's still a good option to make. So third, you've got investigating the delivery process to identify why the issue occurred and prevent future delays. It's important for long-term improvements. That's why we've placed it in the middle here, but you're not addressing the patient's current concern quickly enough. So that's why it is third. Then for C, we're advising the patient to come to the pharmacy to collect the medication. It's providing a solution, but might not be feasible for the patient. We've not been given more context in this scenario. We don't know if they have mobility issues. We don't know if they're away. So we don't know if they're able to travel here. So that's why that one is placed fourth. And right at the bottom, we've got explaining the delivery was delayed due to high demand. You're giving an explanation, but you're not resolving any concern or preventing a gap in their medication. So that's why that one's been placed at the bottom there.
Cool.
Hopefully that makes sense to everyone.
Any questions? So just wondering the rationale behind D coming second place. So D, okay, so what one of the main things that we said in the tips was to make the patient's care first, right? Would you agree with that, Emma?
Yeah.
So what's like the best thing you can do, right? I think it's pretty obvious. Apologize to the patient, arrange urgent delivery of the medication immediately. I think that one's pretty obvious. Like you're fixing the problem there and then.
Yeah.
With as to why D is before A, um, D, you're doing an action. You're getting the medication to the patient. Remember, we are prioritizing the patient's need. A, investigate the delivery process. I mean, cool, do that later, do that in your own time. But how is that going to help the patient, right? It's not
Yeah.
going to help the medication going to the patient. And then C, again, we're not helping the medication go to the patient. You're putting the burden on them. And then E, that's just like a pointless excuse. It solves nothing. It's obvious that it's going to be the last answer. Okay.
Mhm.
So that's does that make sense as to why D is before A? It's because D is an action. It's getting the medication to the patient. A is I don't know. It's just it's good. Sure, it's good, and that's why it came third place, but it doesn't help. Well, not right now, anyway. Uh,
Mhm.
so going back to and actually, what we'll do is quickly discuss this again today. Um, so this is on our website. It is £20 for like unlimited access till you pass. Well, not till you pass, till you sit the Oriel exam because you only get one shot. Um, what we also say is anyone who buys the Oriel course will have that cost deducted from the course in their trainee year. So essentially, like most people will buy the trainee year course, in a way, you will get this kind of deducted from the course. So essentially, if you are planning on using us for your training year, this is going to be free. So that's one thing that we do. Obviously, you buy this now, and then when you come to training year, we give you a discount of £20. But there we go. It's not a monthly fee, it is a one-off £20. Doesn't matter if you get it now or if you get it a week before the exam, it will cost you the same thing. What if one does not perform well in Oriel? Will one not get a foundation training place? Um, Not necessarily. Not no. I mean, you probably just won't get the one that you want.
Hmm.
But I will say something right now. It doesn't matter how bad of a placement you get. Well, okay, obviously you can't really take abuse and any sort of discrimination, stuff like that. But just have confidence in yourself that training year if you don't get the place that you want. I I had my placement in and I thought it was going to be the best place ever. That's why I ranked it. I think it was actually my second choice, but um it turned out to be a very, very difficult place. The tutor that I had, she was like on her way to being fired. She actually left before she was fired because she just wasn't really with it. Then my tutor after that was someone who came back from retirement. And when I say on the first day, I just thought because he came in like all guns blazing. He was like, "Yeah, I'm the guy. I'm the pharmacist." This guy came back from retirement. He was printing off electric prescriptions and processing them as green prescriptions, and essentially nothing got cleared. And then COVID hit, where every single bit of training went out the window for me. Okay. I think when it comes to training, I probably had one of the worst experiences ever, but I took it on myself. I said, right, well, this doesn't determine how I do. I'm going to study. I'm going to do it in my own time. And I got the results that I did. And here I am training you guys. So don't worry too. Obviously, you want the best placement ever. Having a good placement will make your GPHC exam easier. But what we don't want is people to go, oh, I've got a bad placement. I'm going to fail. What's the point? Because it is just on you. Okay. And then alternatively, um, like just because you get a good placement, don't become complacent because the amount of times that I see, oh well, you know what, the pass rate for hospitals is always really, really high. I'm good. Yeah, but it's not 100%. Some
Hmm.
people do fail, and it's the people that get complacent. Just because they are in a really good placement doesn't mean that they're going to pass. So yeah, goes both ways. But let's have a few Q&A bits. Um, so mini interviews, is that still happening?
It wasn't a thing for us our year. I doubt that will change for this year, but I don't think the handbook is out for you guys yet.
Yeah,
Um,
I
it's
remember,
just this test. This is your interview, pretty much.
yeah, I
Um,
remember having, so I was part of the first cohort that had Oriel. We had mini interview, and to be honest, they're not the, well, depends
mm,
on who's marking you, but I had one guy who was just looking at me with a dead face, and I was just like, great, this is really fun. But yeah, so I already have an Oriel account, but need to apply for England. Also, do I need to reapply as last time I received any communication was in 2023? The first time I gave my SJT and numeracy assessment. But are you
yeah,
up or what's the situation?
I think you would need to reapply there. You'd need to reapply every year.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
It's high demand, someone else might get it, but if you, yeah, yeah, Heather, exactly. Um, no worries, Rose, no worries, no. So, for the oral process this year, can we apply and do split with fun? Yeah, I believe you can. What's the answer, Emma? Do you know more than me on this one about
In
industry
terms of
placement?
the pharmaceutical industry, I think they're quite few and far between. But if there is one, then I don't know if they do a split. Um, I don't know the answer, to be honest. It would come out in your handbook, and um, when all the placements do advertise, you'll be able to see then.
Yeah,
Um, to my knowledge, it's normally just hospital, GP, community.
yeah. There are some. Well, there's the main bulk will be hospital community
Yeah.
GP. You'll see some for prison, but yes, the gems that everyone really wants to see is industry because
Mm-hmm.
I feel like some people are just trying to get out pharmacy, which I don't judge you for. But yeah, don't worry if you don't get a pharma industry placement. Remember, I did mine in community. I literally straight after community, I started working for an industry company. After a while, worked for Bristol Myers Squibb, which is the ninth biggest in the world. So don't worry. Don't worry if you don't get it. How much rank needed in general to get chief in hospital, specifically in the East Midlands? Again, that really depends on how. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it really depends. I mean, if you're on the East Midlands side, is that like Norwich area? Because with Norwich, that's like loads of people kind of want to go for Adam Brooks and people want to go for NMUH just because how close it is to UEA. So again, it's like very dependent on what how many students are going to want to go for it. But yeah,
I think those will be quite competitive, to be honest.
yeah.
Especially like hospital and GP splits, they're very competitive.
This one's for you, Emma. What unpaid and paid resources did you do that you would say made a difference when you were preparing for your SJT and achieve your results?
Um, I think it was the LACE pharmacy. So that's the NHS website. They do have some practice questions. They have the calculations and some SJTs as well. Um, so that was a free resource. In terms of paid, I didn't really use any. I mainly just used that LACE website and just kept going over those. And those were really similar to the Oriel. So again, I kind of used inspiration from different resources to make these. But yeah, the lace was good. I think it even says on the Oriel there should be a link to it. Um, yeah, I think it's LASEE. That's how you spell it.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Good. Yeah, I mean, it's good to have some free resource, some
Mhm.
more resources to pay for on top of that if needed. I mean, I've always said to people, especially for training aid, you can do it for free. I mean, like I got my results without spending money on course.
Mhm.
It's just, do you want an extra bit? Do you want some convenience? Do you want some like
Mhm.
guidance with it all? And I suppose that's where you're kind of looking at the £20 or whatever a course might cost. We are probably one of the cheaper ones out there
Yeah.
because yeah, we don't really want to be charging too much, but yeah. Um, mm, do we have interviews with employers after the test and can be rejected? No. What they can do though is not sign you off during your year, and that's dependent on your attitude. So yeah, and your competency as well. So that can happen. But essentially, when you've been matched up, you've been matched up. Unless you do something really, really bad or unprofessional, they're not going to kick you off. Because
Yes.
a lot of the times, pharmacies actually do want a trainee to be there because it's they get remunerated for it as well, to be honest.
Mhm. It's dependent on your references as well. So I think you need one from your academics, so like your personal tutor, and then one from like whatever job or something. So it's dependent on your references and DBS checks. That's what they're doing for me at the moment.
Cool. Yeah, and hopefully no one's got any DBS issues. Um, is it compulsory to pass this oral test to get a placement in the foundation year? So,
There's no pass mark for the Oriel. It's just dependent on your ranking.
yeah.
So whatever marks you get, everyone's ranked, and and then
You
you'll be
used,
placed anyway. There's
you
no
used
pass.
to. When I was a trainee, you used to, and actually for a couple years after that, I think it's very recent where that stopped. You used to be able to just do it without Oriel. You used to be able to not worry about the Oriel placements at all and just go, oh, there's a local pharmacy. I'm going to go ask them, can I do my training with you guys next year? And they'll be like, yeah, cool, done. You're our trainee next year. No Oriel needed, just the interview, and that would be it. But now you can't do that anymore, unfortunately. It has to go through Oriel. But there we go. But yeah, there's no pass. There's no fail mark. So it is a matter of you are just going to rank lower, and you probably just won't get the placement that you want if you do bad.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Yes. Uma, yes, absolutely. Would you say some organizations are better than others for the foundation trainee? Yes, of course. Yeah, like absolutely. Um, when it comes to okay, community, it depends what you want. So one thing that I can say in community, if you want to learn how to run a business, go for a small independent. If you want to be in community and just get like a decent amount of training, go for a big multiple. If you want more clinical stuff, go for hospital. And if you want more services, go to GP. GP, again, is more clinical as well. Community, I would say, is nowhere near as clinical as hospital and GP. But yeah, there's definitely difference in quality when it comes to any of these placements. Boots, I would say decent. Again, well, pharmacy, decent. Um, do your research. Do your research. Just look online. Ask people who are doing their placements there
Mm-hmm.
before you do it, because I'm not going to sit here and badmouth loads of companies. But just do your own research. Um, how long does it take? So someone's asked, how long does it take to start preparing for Oriel? How long would you say, Emma?
How long? As in how?
How long would it take you to prepare for the exam? Like, how much time do you need for practice questions and stuff like that?
I think I started practicing after the end of third year. That's when I started, and I do maybe a couple questions a day, and then as it got closer, say like 2 weeks before, I'd spend a good amount of time trying to prepare, doing practice questions, and yeah. But I'd think about it now. Think about how you want to structure what kind of time you can give, because I know a lot of people are preparing for exams right now, so you don't really want to be thinking about this while you're doing your university exams. I'd say um, definitely do this after your exams. That's what I did, and spend maybe like an hour a day doing it. And then as it gets closer to the time, you can dedicate more time to it.
Yeah, I would say that makes sense because obviously, well, situational judgment, isn't it? It's got your exams coming up now. Your Oriel's going to be probably after your current exams. So focus on your current exams now, and then in the summer, go for it. Go with the Oriel stuff. I have deactivated questions just because we are already 6 minutes over. But we will answer the next few. So for the pharmaceutical industry, is it really competitive and which companies usually offer that? I would say yes, it is quite competitive because everyone wants to kind of like, well, a lot of people want to get into industry afterwards. The
Mm-hmm.
companies that tend to offer that are Helios, I believe, is one. Feel like GSK definitely does it. But like I've seen AbbVie do it. But yeah, you will be able to kind of see in Oriel these pharmaceutical companies. I think there might be a filter for it, if I'm not mistaken, Emma. Did you see that?
I don't think there was one for it when I was applying. Um, I didn't really see any, to be honest, but I was only looking at things local to me.
Yeah,
I don't think there's a specific filter, but you definitely be able to, like, going through the list, you'll be able to see which is the industry.
cool. Are SJD questions designed on specific path or mixture of 2 to 3 different attributes?
The professional attribute framework. So the questions, you're assessing all 5 with the Oriel test, and then some questions you'll be focusing on maybe one, and then obviously there'll be some overlap as well in these questions. That's kind of why we set it out the way we had, because you're kind of focusing on specific attributes, but then obviously there'll be some overlap as well. So you really want a good understanding of all of them to be able to answer questions appropriately. Does that answer the question? So it's focus on one in each question, but there'll be some overlap, if that makes sense.
Good stuff. The question bank that Emma mentioned was LACE, so LASEE. Got a private question for that one. Say you get a community placement, how would you know how good it is for foundation, or is it more what's convenient for us to travel to? I would say it's very, very hard to tell how good a community placement is, actually, for all placements. That's why I kind of at the start said that don't worry too much about how good the placement is. Have some strict like barriers. So if they're being abusive, discriminatory, stuff like that, anything that you cannot get over, do make a big fuss over. But if you get to your placement and the pharmacist is not making your learning their primary concern, that's to be expected. So remember, they're running a pharmacy at the end of the day. Their job is to make sure 10,000 patients are seen to, right? Your primary concern is doing well in the GPHC exam whilst also developing as a pharmacist. That's your primary concern. It's not theirs. It's not the dispensers. It's not the customers. Nobody's, right? So don't focus too much on whether the placement will be great or not. I would say more so focus on what you do during placement, because anyone could make the best of a bad situation most of the time. Again, if they're being racist or discriminatory or whatever, that's not cool. But for the most part, they won't be. And you can change your training year to do the best that you can for yourself. So that's what I would say. Do community pharmacists need a particular requirement to accept us through Oriel? As I am already working in one now. So you just have to do it through Oriel. Again, it will be your ranking. So yeah, it will be a ranking. And I will say most of the time, community probably won't have as such of a high requirement for a ranking. Camstons, I haven't heard too much about. How can you apply for Scotland and England? Has this open? So Daniel Tadros, thank you. Applications open on the 7th of June at 12 p.m. to the 21st of June at 12 p.m. Nice. When applying through Oriel, do employers value students more if they have a relevant internship and placement? No, I don't think so. Is that true, Emma?
No, it's literally just this test that they look at.
Yeah, it's literally just Oriel. It's literally UCAS, but without the interviews at the end. But yeah, when the registration for Oriel starts, so as we just said, 7th of June till the 21st of June. Okay, so for most of you, will be after your exams. Okay, so that's it for questions. If you have any other questions, drop us a message. I want to say a big thank you for all of you to staying so far to the end. This is the first time we've done something like this. Really, really excited to be able to help you with the Oriel, as well as helping you later down the line for your training year. And hopefully you've got some good kind of intake as to what Oriel will look like and a bit more about the whole process as well. A big thank you for Emma for coming and joining us. She managed to get second in the whole country. That's the sort of value that we want to bring to you when we're giving you advice on things. So yeah, that's it.